What's up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is, as usual, brought to you by Off the Record. You know who pleads guilty to traffic violations? Suckers, that's who. Don't get yourself into that system. Get yourself some help with Off the Record. Off the Record is a service that connects you to a qualified attorney in any state in the country. Almost anywhere you could get pulled over for something, Off the Record's got a lawyer that can help you. All you have to do is make an account with Off the Record by going to offtherecord.com/TST or by downloading the Off the Record smartphone app and using code TSTPOD. Then, when Off the Record connects you to a lawyer, if you get yourself in a little bit of a sticky jam, they will give you 10% off all legal services booked through Off the Record by using our code. It's amazing. Every week I get emails from somebody who's used Off the Record with success. Get those points off your record, because if you got points on your record, it could affect your employment, it could affect your insurance, it could affect your bank account, or it could affect all three of those. Don't get in that jam. Get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. Get it done now. Have it in your pocket for if you get in trouble later, you won't freak out. You'll have Off the Record. All right, guys, today it's a cruise show. Zach and I have just got back from driving the Mercedes AMG GT 63 and the Alfa Giulia. Also, I bought myself a new guitar. We talked about Big Nino's wedding this past weekend and a whole lot of great questions. Today's main topic is our favorite three Indy 500 pace cars and their drivers. It's a combo move. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go. Hello. Welcome to Monday Morning Radio on the farm. KPPX, the farm. Just watching Airheads the other day, and it made me think of that. Mm-hmm. Airheads. Is Airheads a comedy? I think
yeah.
It's funny, but like it's not slapstick.
No, but it's.
I guess it is. It would be a comedy. It has comedic actors in it.
Yeah, I think it was intended to be a comedy.
Yeah,
and like the robbery, it's water guns, right?
No,
and
I know, like it is, but it's like it's not. There's not
what
a lot
makes
of
you
like
think it's
that it's not a comedy.
Right.
I mean,
like
maybe it's because
drama.
no, it's definitely not that. But like it's silly more than it is a super. I guess maybe I've just seen Airheads so many times that I'm not like haha anymore.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I love it.
It came out when we were 12,
right?
And I think it was a comedy back then. Like I liked it as a kid. You did too. We laughed at it.
Yeah.
Adults could probably kind of chuckle, but now we're adults.
Yeah.
So we probably watch it and look at the business of large radio taking over small independent stations.
Now I'm like real sympathetic to Milo.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like the protagonist is like the wrong characters here.
Yeah. Knowing you read 4 newsletters about politics, then sit down and watch Airheads. And you're like, conglomerate, see?
Yeah, something like that. No, but like, you know what?
This is Sinclair Media taking over.
You know what made me think about it was when Jamal Hamidi, and I'm not going to talk about something that was embargoed because he came on our show last week, but it was embargoed, so you're going to hear it on Tuesday, July 2nd. If you're listening to the shows in order. One thing he was talking about that is not part of the embargo is the seats. The seats with the transducers in them, which is available in the Range Rover Sport SV right now. And I was thinking about the part where fucking Ian the Shark, played by Joe Mantegna in Airheads, goes, "There's a saying, Milo, if it's too loud, you're too old."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And I was just like, this is the seats are for when you want to feel the music, but you're too old, and so it's too loud. That's
Which
what I
appreciate. I do like that. I have stood in front of loud sound systems, and it's fun. And then you have tinnitus for 2 days.
Right. Lots of things to... and also, I was thinking about Airheads because, of all the shit they demand... which I suppose that is comedy. Naked pictures of B. Arthur and a football helmet full of cottage
Imagine
cheese.
trying to find those pictures before the internet.
Right. Yeah. Giant baby bottle. And of course, Brendan Fraser wants a PRS guitar. And I talked about, I don't know how many months ago it was, about the guitar that I had in college. I had a lot of guitars in college because I used to move units, and I spent my stupid money on guitars because I was playing in a band. And I sold all the guitars except one. I kept my Taylor acoustic guitar, which I have and I love. But I said if I found the exact guitar that I had in college, which it turns out is kind of rare. They only made it for a couple years. It wasn't like a rare collector's item then. It was just like, I like this one. But now, 20 years later, they're kind of rare. So a gentleman named Anthony Sloan at the Sloan School of Music, which I believe is in Maryland. They're a music school and a guitar and bass retailer as well. I believe they're on Instagram.
The music school is also...
It's a music school and is also a store, a guitar store.
Okay.
A lot of them are. A lot of places that sell, like indie shops that sell musical instruments are also have lessons and whatever. Anthony hit me up and found my guitar. And so
now it's the model or it's your actual guitar.
There's no way.
There's no VIN number, right?
Yeah, there's no. I mean, I suppose maybe if I could find the exact, they are serial numbered, but
you could test the DNA of the bong residue.
Yes, this one's sativa.
Yeah, that's you.
But it's the same era. It's from the same year window. It's the same make, model, same color.
Cool.
So it's as close as I will ever find to the exact guitar. And so he said, he had just serviced it, so it's been fully serviced. It's in exceptional condition.
That's so cool.
So I bought it.
Yeah, of course.
Because you knew where this was going. So I bought it.
You can just look at it and go, that's awesome. Yeah. Enjoy that at the school.
Yeah. So I bought it. It hasn't arrived yet. It's being shipped. But it's really like, it inspired me to I want like less internet in my life. Looking at my phone, I don't, less everything. Less fucking non-productivity, doom scrolling, and just mindless internet. And so I'm gonna make an attempt to return to guitar.
That's a great idea.
30 minutes a day is what I'm gonna try and commit to guitar. So yesterday, I took my Taylor out of the case, and I really hadn't played it in probably 2 years. And I fucking tuned it, and the strings are pretty rusty, and I'm gonna actually tonight, I got some strings. So tonight, I'm gonna fucking clean the shit out of it and put new strings on it. But I learned how to play Running on Empty by Jackson Browne yesterday in about an hour. And it's the first new song I've learned on guitar in fucking 20 years, probably.
Whoa. You played for a long time, right?
I played for a long time, but then like after college, it sort of it dwindled.
Right.
And I noodled, but I didn't like go out and learn new songs because I wasn't in a band anymore. So like, I just played my fucking rotations of songs. But I had not learned any songs in guitar since the invention of YouTube. This is a whole new world.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't have to get lessons or anything. I can just how to play this.
Yep.
And as my first time using a video tutorial, I'm going to sound like an old man, to learn how to play a song on guitar. Turns out, what a fucking great way to learn a song on guitar.
You can probably learn guitar fundamentals on YouTube, of course. Yeah,
and cool. I was talking to Misha Mansour about this because I was asking him about, I don't have an amp anymore. What amp should I buy for this PRS to play? Oh, I don't know if I said this. For those guitar nerds out there, it's a PRS McCarty Soap Bar P90, which is a sub-variant of a sub-variant of guitar. It's a really, really neat guitar. And it's fucking gorgeous. But so I was talking to Misha about what amp I should buy. I'm just getting a little fucking nothing amp for home. But I guess you can control them with an app now, the amps. So I don't need like a big pedal board. I can make the amp sound like a bunch of shit through the app.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like an effects board in your phone.
Cool.
So I can go like Mike McCready and make it sound like Pearl Jam. So.
Wow. I always thought there was some sort of like hardware in the pedal that was changing like the signal. But I guess maybe it is doing that. It's just doing that to the amp.
It is and it isn't. Like there's old school like analog pedals that like yes are doing that, and then there's like digital pedals that are a circuit board that
They just changed like the tuning of the amp or something like that.
Yeah, they add effects.
Cool. Okay.
But now,
that's
fucking 2020 whatever,
right.
you can plug into a computer and play to headphones. You can plug into an amp that's controlled with an app and has, not every effect possible, but 20, 30 effects in the amp.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and
good
amp,
activity.
It's like pretty. I asked actually 3 different people who I know who play guitar, and they all recommended the same amp. I fucking forget what it's called, but it's nothing special, but it's pretty cool. So, but like, yeah. And Misha was like, yeah, this is why guitar playing has gotten like so good with young people, because you have infinite free lessons on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun.
That's really good.
I think that'd be a good activity.
Yeah.
Good thing to like
Singular
settle
mental
the
focus.
mind.
Yeah.
Focus. And not only did I learn a new song, I learned like 2 new chords, and I haven't fucking learned a new chord in even longer. So I was like, I actually was at the point where like, oh, I have to like think about where my fingers go. Like that's
cool.
So like, shout out to Anthony Sloan. I don't know if he ever listed the guitar. He might have emailed me before it was listed. Just type in the search, type PRS McCarty. Yeah, and maybe is it listed in the, it's not, go down, no, it's not. It is not listed in the store. Wow, that one's unbelievable, $12,000. That's not how much.
For people listening, there are also guitars here that are $800.
Yeah,
there's a range.
Most guitar manufacturers have a pretty big spread.
Right.
They want to have an entry level model that's sub $1,000, and then you get crazy wood, crazy hardware, crazy this, the very best of that, and whatever. So, mine is somewhere in the middle, but so that's fun, guitaring. Yeah.
How much more expensive is that guitar now than when you bought it in college 20 years ago?
If you adjust for inflation, it's probably the same. It's more in raw dollars, but if you adjust for inflation, I think it's probably about the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like for raw dollars, did you look at the price today and you're like, wow, that's 5 times what it was when I bought it?
No.
Okay.
It's not 5 times. It's maybe in raw dollars. It's probably 40% more, 50%. Maybe it's not quite inflation, but it was I bought it brand new in college. It wasn't like used.
Yeah.
So, but the good, with stuff like this, there's a floor. Right, so you take good care of it.
Yeah,
and if I'm not a.
And it should last a really, really long time.
It should last a fucking 200 years. I mean, the way these things are made, it should last infinity. My Taylor, by the way, is a Taylor is another one. They make very high end acoustic guitars, and their floor is pretty high. So like mine's a pretty entry level Taylor, but it's still a really like high quality guitar. And that guitar I've had for 24 years. I've never had it professionally tuned, never had it professionally adjusted, and I've never had to have the frets refinished or anything. And it is, other than needing a new set of strings and a cleaning, which I'm going to do today, absolutely perfect, impeccable, dead to nuts fucking reliable. And I played it on stage for 4 years. Like the unbelievable quality from Taylor.
Cool.
Particularly for an acoustic, which is more, electric guitars they're solid, right? Most of them, so they're like pretty tough. Acoustic guitars are hollow,
right?
And so they're more susceptible to changes in humidity and temperature, and
if they change that shape at all, or even a little bit, it changes the sound.
Yeah, and they can get damaged easily. So. Shout out to Anthony Sloan at the Sloan School of Music for finding that guitar and setting me up. Very, very cool. Right, so this morning, this past weekend, friend of the Smoking Tire and original Smoking Tire podcast cast member, Nino.
Right.
Nino, who was on, if you go back to our early episodes, was on the sound effects board for the first 100.
Nino.
He got married. Zach was the officiante.
Yeah.
And I was one of 10,000 groomsmen.
There were a lot of groomsmen.
There was a lot of groomsmen. Nino got boys. He didn't post at all about it. Maybe in the stories?
There's a lot of stories.
Is there a lot of mad stories?
Many.
There it is. Nino and Val. Shout out to them. Oh, there's me drunk. That's me very drunk. We drank a lot.
We
We drank a lot. Because Big Nino's dad, fucking throws down on the booze. But it was at a beautiful sort of estate in Simi Valley on the hottest day of the year.
It was 100 degrees.
It was real hot
until the sun went down 3 hours later.
And then it was perfect. So shout out to Nino for finding an excellent woman.
Yeah, Valerie's so sweet.
Yeah, Valerie rules.
She's so cool.
Mm-hmm. And wifeying it up. And man, we got to taste. Big Nino's a junior, so Big Nino is his dad. Busted out the Mouton Rothschild, which we got to taste. It was.
He had it like at his table. It was for him, and then he brought it over because you guys are like buds.
Yeah.
So he brought it over and was like, "Do you want a little bit of the?"
You are Nino's responsible friend. You can have some of the good wine.
Yeah.
It was that's a good fucking little sipsy there. That was nice. I enjoyed that very much.
I think I needed the steak to go with it.
Right.
It's like a dry. It's just like a strong cab.
Yeah, it's a dinner. It's a dinner wine.
It is a dinner
for
wine.
Sure.
Yeah.
But good food at the wedding, and lots of drinking.
And I think I have proved once again that you can mix alcohols and not get sick as long as you kind of keep track. Because I drank gin, tequila, vodka, wine, and coffee at 11 p.m.
Yeah, I was on a real rotation. I went back and forth between tequila and red wine. I think what you don't want to do is like hard pregame with beer.
Yeah.
And then start doing shots of JMO. That's when you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to start with the tequila, and if possible, and then taper to wine in the middle, maybe a couple tequilas after that.
Yeah.
I really don't get very hungover from tequila though, which is surprising. I think it's because the tequila is like quality now.
Yeah, I think that helps a lot.
Yeah.
College tequila is different.
For sure.
And also, if you're not drinking margarita mixer, like the sugar is really
Tequila and soda, you can really avoid hangovers pretty effectively with tequila and soda. So that was that's the weekend. Guitaring and Nino had a quartet, like a string quartet at the wedding that was playing Drake, which was very funny.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Kind of awesome. And it was Drake and Future and I think there was like a Rihanna song they were doing too.
Their walk-off song.
Yeah,
I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
because I don't have the ear to pick up. I don't know that Drake Future song, so my ear wouldn't pick it up anyway.
I wouldn't have either, except that Nino played it for us first, so we would know.
Got it.
And we were in the groomsmen's room shooting fucking dice.
Because sometimes you'll like I was in the airport I think of like 2 weeks ago, and I heard a song and it was like a slow acoustic, and after a minute I went, wait a minute. And it was like a classic huge rock song that had just been changed, slowed down. It was Muzak, and I recognized it because like the pitch changes and things are the same, but it's just like slightly different instruments. Yeah.
It's like War Pigs, but like
exactly,
but Muzak.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was the weekend. It wasn't a big weekend of cars, but we did drive cars to the wedding, to the general. I didn't drive home from the wedding. I was wasted. But the general wedding, I was driving the AMG GT 63. You were driving the Giulia.
The Giulia Quad.
The last Alfa press car in California, as far as I know.
Well, it's like the last Giulia Quad because they're ending production of them this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I drove it home. You reviewed it. I drove it home from the shoot today just to have another go. I really like how that car drives. Really nice.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a brand new 2015 car, which is pretty funny.
It is. Yeah, you can get an old feeling car with a warranty.
Yeah, but after getting out of the Mercedes, it felt so light.
They feel so different. Holy crap. Like I couldn't even get set up in the Mercedes by the time I got down from the hill because there's so many things to change.
Lot going on.
I couldn't figure out and we were trying to keep time to get down here, so I wasn't going to stop and like pull over and look at everything, but that thing has like the dynamic ride this and all this other stuff, and the Alpha is like suspension soft, suspension medium, and then fast or not fast.
Yeah. It's a neat car. Basic. But it does get a lot of the basics right.
Yeah. The foundation of driving and dynamics, I think, are absolutely there. And the steering is pretty good. And the rest of it, all right, some of the accoutrement stuff, like the screens and things aren't as current as its competition.
Yeah, but
I'd rather have the driving good, because that's like 20 years from now, we won't care about the screens anyway. We'll just care about the car that drives well.
Yeah, well, the Mercedes has, the big tablet,
Yep.
which I didn't like it all in the SL. Folks, we got to take a quick break for ads, because today the Smoking Tire is brought to you by DeleteMe. I've been talking about DeleteMe the last couple months. It's amazing, because here, almost anyone that you know, maybe it's you, but definitely someone that you know, has been either harassed, scammed, the victims of identity theft online, or maybe just annoyed by spam and robocalls. Privacy really matters here. And if someone's gotten your number, someone's gotten your email, someone's gotten your address, your credit card information, it's because your data is available for sale to the highest bidder. Our life of online convenience, shopping, and booking things through the World Wide Web has made us easy targets. But we can protect ourselves and get peace of mind with DeleteMe. It's unbelievable. Everyone needs DeleteMe, right? DeleteMe will find and remove any personal information that you don't want online, and then make sure it stays off, because DeleteMe is not a one-time thing. It's a subscription service that removes your personal information from the largest people search databases on the web, and in the process helps prevent potential identity theft, doxing, and scams. All you got to do is sign up and provide DeleteMe with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. DeleteMe will then send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what they found, where they found it, and what they removed. To put it simply, DeleteMe does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal info off the web, and that's why data brokers hate DeleteMe. When you sign up, DeleteMe immediately goes to work scrubbing your personal information from data broker platforms, and your personal profile is no longer theirs to sell. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/tire and then use promo code TIRE at checkout. The only way to get that 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And now, back to the show. When you spend a week with a Lucid Sapphire and then you get in the Mercedes, it makes it a lot better. The Mercedes being a coupe, you didn't have the glare of the open top SL on this screen.
Right, of course.
Big screens and convertibles don't really go so good together.
And they get really hot.
Right. In the coupe, that's not a problem. And like the screens did what they were told all the time. You know, like the satellite radio was actually based on satellites. And like everything was really quite logical, and there were certain key functions that you didn't need the touchscreen for. Like the drive modes and certain things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in that interior. It took me a while to remember where seat bolstering is, which is something you only set up once. But like that's deep in the screen, and there's a few hard buttons for things, but there's just a lot of controls. I think
it helps that I had the CLA 35.
Definitely.
Which had the same type of menu, and so I was like primed for Mercedes.
Yeah.
I think these Mercedes menus, I think they take probably 2 weeks to get used to.
And once you kind of remember, you know, the two knobs on the wheel, like the one on the left is the multifunction, like it's 2 buttons and then 2 buttons, it's 2 touch buttons and 2 haptic, and that can scroll you through the AMG mode and the wing and all these other things. Like there are those shortcuts.
Yeah.
You just got to learn where they are.
And the key with the Mercedes is just like to set up your individual mode. And then it's just one click, and then you're there.
That thing is obviously what's the horsepower on that car?
577 and 590 torque.
Yeah.
It's fast.
It's very fast.
What I really want to hear, because I have a whole review about it, and the big thing to me is that I was so disappointed when the SL line and the GT line were merged into one car. Because when I drove the SL, it was it wasn't that fun to me.
No, we drove it together.
It
has a problem that we've experienced in a couple of Mercedes where the rear steer feels 1 second behind the front of the car, and that makes the whole thing feel weird, and it just ruins the sports car experience.
Right, and it was also for a car that's really a daily, it was pretty stiff in the city, and then it had a tiny trunk.
Yeah.
So it's not a good GT. It's not good for your golf clubs. It's not a great daily. And then when you're going fast, it's not great at that either. The GT is a hatchback. The rear seat is optional. So this one had a parcel shelf. So it actually holds tons of shit. It would be an amazing road trip car. The extra structure of a roof means they can tune the suspension softer so it rides better in the city. Which I believe it really does ride better in the city than the SL.
I think it was still stiffer than I was expecting in comfort mode.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh, it's still a sports car.
Firm.
It's firm.
It's firm, but I did 500 miles in it in the last week, and I found it to be overall very pleasant.
Okay.
The programming of the dynamics are better than the SL. I think it didn't do the weird, it has rear steer, but it didn't do that weird thing that the SL did.
Completely agree.
It felt normal in corners. So, like, I don't know if they've updated that across the whole line. Ooh. Maybe not. The SL43 I drove recently did do the weird rear steer thing. But, like, I was not disappointed dynamically, especially considering it's 4,300 pounds. But what Mercedes is really trying to do, they didn't really need two high-end convertibles. The market isn't really there for that.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I get it. You can turn these both into one car, improve the SL, and make the GT more of a true GT car that is more like a, don't take this the wrong way, it's still very expensive, but a cheaper Bentley GT as opposed to a two-seat sort of roadster that's supposed to compete with like high-end 911s. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, because you drove the Vantage. Mm-hmm. So GT versus Vantage.
Ooh.
Because before the Vantage has the GT powertrain. It's got the same, but it uses the ZF gearbox, right? And not the Mercedes gearbox. Last gen, the GT was so much better than the Vantage because that engine works so much better with that gearbox than with the ZF.
Well, this AMG GT still has a dual clutch, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that does separate it. Absolutely.
But it doesn't have the dry sump engine anymore. So the engine's higher. It doesn't sit as low. And the engine's also further forward. Remember the old GT? The engine was back and down.
Yeah.
So the whole engine was behind the front axle and then down. That's how you got that super low hood. Now it's up higher because it's a wet sump and it's further forward. But the rear steer and the all-wheel drive is supposed to help compensate for that.
Right. It didn't feel particularly nose heavy.
It doesn't, yeah.
I think they'd be splitting hairs. They're really, really close because the Vantage does a really good job with that engine. It does not feel hamstrung like it used to. Remember before you say it has a twin turbo V8 and you go, from who? Because this feels like they cut 100 horsepower out of it.
Yeah.
It feels like it has all 5.7, or it's more than that.
Like the Aston has more power.
Yeah, the Advantage has way more power.
And it's lighter.
And it feels like it has all of the power it says it does. Whereas like the Alfa feels like, some German cars feel like they over-deliver.
Yeah.
They're like, it's 500, and you go, this is like 6.
Yeah.
So the Aston feels like it's right on the money. I think
the Mercedes, they're underrating it. I think it's making more.
Probably.
I mean, the car's 4,300 pounds doing 0 to 60 in 3 flat.
Well, like the M3 X-Drive, 0 to 60 is like 3.2, I think.
I think
and
that car's
lighter.
Underrated.
Probably. That's a good point.
I've read that car is underrated too. So maybe they're all sandbagging.
I think they're very close. I think the steering, I like the steering in the Mercedes more, even though it was just like heavy. I think the Aston rides better, although the roads are better in Spain. I haven't driven it here, so actually that's not fair apples to apples. But I think what they've done, I think they have successfully moved both of those cars up market. Yeah. And I don't think the people that can afford them will be upset with what they get.
I think they'll sell more GTs this way than they did with the last car. I mean, I liked the old GT, especially the GTC. That was perfect. But by the time they got to like GTR Pro, it's like you're narrower. And by the time we got to Black Series, it was like, what are we even doing here anymore? This is nuts.
Well, did they not sell very well? Did those cars not sell well? I mean, they're competing against the 911, all the variations of it.
Well, I don't think it's that they didn't sell well. I think they sold them. But I think doing the SL and that is 2 very expensive convertibles that were probably targeting the same customer.
Yeah.
And by doing what they did with this, they cannot totally abandon those other customers and maybe add in some more.
That's true. I think I'd say that the Aston feels like it has a little more room because the screen is pushed away. Like the tablet, I mean, it's easy to reach, but the AMG GT feels like it feels like there was the interior was just made of foam, and then they just shoved you, or like Jello, and they just shoved you in there, and then you're surrounded by it. So everything's really easy to reach.
Yeah.
But it feels a little bit claustrophobic. Aston feels slightly roomier, but I think it's kind of splitting hairs. You have to drive, we'd have to drive back to back.
2?
The one I drove was 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was this? 175 base, 206 is equipped.
Yeah.
But this one's loaded up. This
Looks
one's
like
got it not only has all the performance options, it's like this special, it's red, but it's like exclusive manufacturer red that's $12,000, and like just everything, the carbon pack is $6,000. I mean, you could get a car that would be fundamentally identical to what that is for probably $15,000 cheaper than that. You don't need all that shit. You're gonna get white leather? Like, no. Nah, nobody would. Although, to be fair, I would never buy a car with white leather, and that thing has less than 3,000 miles on it, and you can already see like the leather being like stained. But when it's fucking 100 degrees in California and the car's parked outside, the white leather ain't bad. And it has this thing now, the SL, if you hold the unlock button, it puts the top down and the windows down when you're outside the car. Mm-hmm. This one, you hold the unlock button, it drops the windows, turns on the cooled seats.
Ooh, that's very good.
That's money.
That's a good feature.
That is money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a video of it. It has the best window washers I've ever seen in any car.
Are they attached to the wiper itself?
Yeah, and they're the full length of the wiper. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't gonna work for radio, but I'm just gonna show you the fucking video of this because it's crazy what these things do. Where's my windshield?
It's like the pour for the water is a line where it just like evenly drenches the whole windshield.
Yeah, is this it? Wait, look at this. You see what it just did there?
Yeah, it's got 20.
It moves slow. It goes 1, and then look, it draws it up slow with like maybe 20 sprayers.
Oh, I thought that was slow motion.
No,
okay.
no.
All
That's
right.
the speed it goes.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's very cool.
It like soaks it.
That's a window washer. That's like a real window washer robot.
Badass. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a
very nice car.
The pit. I mean, considering they're underneath, they're basically the same car. One is a coupe, one is a convertible. My difference in reaction, attitude, and everything to this one versus the SL, world of difference.
But I think it also highlights what they can do with programming. Where it felt like the rear steer in the SL and then the S-Class I drove just weren't finished yet, and it's just. That's all tuning. They're not going to change the motor, like the rear steer motor, but they just need to change when it comes on, how much it comes on, how many degrees it adds, considering like your forward rate and your rate of steering. Like all that stuff can be fine-tuned. And the 2 cars we drove, it just needed more time in the oven. Yeah. So I'm glad. I didn't notice it at all on the drive down the hill, which is what I want. Yeah. So kudos, Mercedes.
Yeah, especially if you start playing with that dynamic pro mode, which is like another mode that they have that allows you to. So you've got your engine, you can do comfort, sport, race. Your gearbox, you can do comfort, sport, race. Suspension, it's like comfort, sport plus race, whatever. Traction control, and then this dynamic pro thing. Independent of all those things, it's like basic, advanced, pro, master. And as you go up the scale, it changes the front-rear torque split. It changes the roll stiffness. It changes the torque vectoring. It changes the and it changes how the rear steer comes on. Oh. So it changes all those parameters. And so it makes the car feel completely different in each mode. It's really cool.
I messed with it, but I was going down Angeles Crest, and I think the turns were too consistent radius or something. Yeah. I just didn't notice it that much.
You probably need to, like, in Malibu, where it's really tight and technical, and then you can feel the torque vectoring and stuff, you can really notice it.
Yeah.
I
mean, those are nice cars.
Yeah. I don't think there was a mileage limit on it, but if there was, whoopsie. So that's fun. And then, I mean... Was the Giulia like? Well, you've got a whole fucking video coming out on the Giulia. We can wait for that. Yeah, it's a great color though. Oof. That green.
$2,000 option, worth it.
But exceptional.
Their colors and they're red. I mean, that's their flagship color. But damn, they look good.
Yeah, it's a great looking car.
Yeah,
really beautiful car.
It really is.
All right, so should we do the IndyCar thing?
Yeah, let's do that.
Someone teed this up before the Indy 500. It was a Patreon question. They wanted to know our favorite and least favorite Indy 500 pace cars. And so, oh shit, we don't have photos?
They don't have photos? Well.
Keep going. Are there more photos? We found this article with,
70. Look at that C3 Corvette.
Dude, I mean, the ones that come to mind. Well, we don't
Aurora.
We don't need to look at the photos. Okay, let's go back to like the 50s. So we're just going to look. We have a list of all Indy 500 pace cars, and they're usually just like special edition graphics on a whatever car. So in the 50s, you've got Studebaker, Ford, Bel Air, DeSoto, Firefly. Okay, it's fine. You know,
they weren't really sports cars back then. It was like
it was like parade cars.
Yeah,
almost
true parade lap.
Yeah. Then the cars start getting kind of fast in sort of the middle in the 60s, right? You got a Thunderbird in 61, a Chrysler 300 in 63, of course the Mustang in 64. Then you've got Plymouth Sport Fury and Mercury Comet in the sort of muscle car era. The Camaro when that came out in 67. They started using cars that came out that year.
Yeah.
Something new. Right? Keep going. The 67 Camaro pace car is a pretty iconic livery, that white with the orange.
Yeah.
And the woven seats.
Then you've also got two other gens of Camaro. Whoops.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
You've got all the Camaros.
Later
that looks
on.
like 67 and then 69, right? Camaro and then something in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then you've got the 93 or 94 Camaro there. So we've got a bunch of those. Keep going down. Let's see. The Torino. Yeah, the 69 was the Camaro SS. That's the white-orange. Oldsmobile 442. The Challenger. The Hearst Olds. Then you have an Eldorado in 1973.
Man, things got so slow.
The Hearst Olds in 74.
Cadillac Eldorado.
You got a Buick Century. Dude, 77, the Oldsmobile Delta 88. Driven by James Garner.
How did that car go fast enough?
You got to look up the year, add the year to that, 1977, because those got really terrible by the end.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised the race cars weren't overheating behind them.
Look at that shit box. On the right, it's the one on the right, top right. What a fucking heinous-looking car that is.
Even when you NASCAR that out, and it's got a huge 800 horsepower engine in it, it's still going to look weird. Like, it looks like it has 8 headlights.
That looks like it could have been a NASCAR homologation.
Maybe that's the only way it was fast enough to lead the cars around.
Yeah, Buicks.
Century. There you go.
You got the C3 Corvette in 78.
Those look so cool.
The pace car ones?
Just C3s in general. I mean,
if you're going to go
ridiculous.
with the C3, it's got to be an early one, 68 to 71.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
I just
just bought one of them?
Zuckerman.
No, our pal Pete.
Which Pete?
Brotman.
Oh, okay.
God, stunner. A stunner. He said I can have it for the weekend. It's one of those like LT1.
Oh, so it's kind of quickish.
Yeah, it's like the high compression small block. It's silver over like tan. It's
sick.
Fucking unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's one of those cars that like I'm really glad a friend owns. I want to experience it, but he said he's going to drive it to Pebble Beach this year. I was like 100%.
Yeah.
Did you know those cars don't have trunks?
Oh,
Did you know those?
It's a sealed trunk.
It's a sealed.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there. You can't put things there.
Can you lean the seat forward and throw things back there and then never retrieve them until you hit the brakes?
I think so.
Because that's how the C2s were.
Yeah.
Some of them. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's why they have such great body lines.
It looks like there's, right? That's how you make a car really pretty is no trunk.
I mean, they have a great shape too, but when you look at it from the back, there's no line because they just went, imagine that meeting where they were like, nah, just forget it.
But it didn't last, and that's why they went with the domed hatchback for 78.
Damn.
Or 70, when did they do the domed hatchback? 75?
No trunk.
74, 75. Then you got, 79 Mustang, driven by Jackie Stewart. That's the first year of the Fox body. Imagine Jackie Stewart in a 79 Mustang fucking pace car.
He would have been outspoken, I think.
What a shitbox.
Yeah. So much flicks.
Yeah.
It's like a bagpipe bag.
1980, the Turbo Trans Am. And then 82, you got the Z28. Buick Riviera convertible in '83. Pontiac
Fiero.
Indy Fiero, yeah. Fucking James Garner really had a bunch of turns driving the Oldsmobile Cutlass Calais.
Were there no other actors around? No Paul Newman?
How about an '86 Corvette convertible? That's a C4
Driven by Chuck Yeager.
Chuck Yeager. He probably punched 4 people on the way out to the fucking pits.
And he
to drive
probably
that.
set a speed record.
How about Carroll Shelby in a LeBaron in '87?
That is
That was when Shelby had
know.
his Chrysler years.
I know.
But he was like, no, not a Daytona, not an Omni, no GLHS.
A LeBaron.
A fucking LeBaron.
They just gave him a check. They made him do that.
Yeah. And then they put poor Chuck Yeager in a Cutlass Supreme.
At least Bobby Unser got a Trans Am.
A Trans Am. How about, oh, dude, you know what? I'm a sucker for a 1990 Beretta
I knew you
convertible.
were.
I am a sucker for a Beretta. 91, Carroll Shelby in a Viper. That's all right.
That's pretty cool.
Bobby
That made up
Unser
for
in a
it.
Cadillac Alante. Designed by Pininfarina.
Yeah.
You know who's got one of them? Mike Harley. Automotive
Really?
journalist Mike Harley's got a Alante. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Never had a shot. Front wheel drive, North Star. Great looking car. Was never going to do it. Camaro. 94
body.
Mustang Cobra driven by Parnelli Jones.
That's
That's
pretty
all
cool.
right. 95, a Corvette convertible. Then a Dodge Viper GTS driven by Bob Lutz.
Still got the cigar in it.
96, he had it. Oldsmobile. Then the Aurora
Hey.
in 97, an Oldsmobile Aurora. Parnelli Jones in a C5. Oh, poor Jay Leno had to drive a 1999 Chevy Monte Carlo.
That's when they were
Remember that
front-wheel
pace
drive,
car?
right?
Yeah.
That is a bad
That's
car.
a piece of junk. And they had
Yeah.
the Earnhardt edition, the Intimidator edition.
I remember it had huge front headlights, and then the rear taillights were very small. It just looked awkward.
Yeah.
The whole thing looks awkward.
Oh, possible worst in show. 2001 Oldsmobile Bravada. That's bad.
Yeah.
That's the
SUV.
Blazer. That's
right.
the SUV.
That's a Blazer.
That's horrible. Dude, 2002 Corvette C5. Look at the driver. Jim Caviezel.
I have no idea who that is.
He played Christ in Passion of the Christ. He's like a right-wing religious fucking freak, that guy.
Well, he's in a domestic car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chevy SSR in 03, okay, and then a couple more Corvette.
Morgan
Morgan
Freeman
Freeman in a C4 Corvette.
That is one of the cool. That's gonna take my cake. That's the coolest one.
Followed by
Just
a
'cause he
Corvette
drove
driven
it.
by God, followed by Colin
Every
Colin
time I go
Powell.
left, I gotta go left again.
Oh, there he is. Is that him? Oh, that's
That's
Colin
Colin
Powell.
Powell.
Oh, that might have been a little bit racist. Oops, sorry.
It's a blurry
In
photo.
No, in that photo, from this distance, 10 feet from the TV, 60 mile an hour,
Right.
they're interchangeable. Let's just say that they're interchangeable. Lance Armstrong in the C6 Z06. That didn't
right
age
color.
well for either of them.
Wait, you don't like the C6 Z06?
No, they heat soak. They were both juicing.
Wait, oh yeah, the Z06. I was getting confused with.
Yeah. No, the C5
Yeah,
Z06.
C5
Oh, no,
is the
C6. I'm sorry. The C7. C6
C7 is
Z06.
the supercharged one.
C6
That
Z06
heats
is
up.
the 427.
That's a good one.
In Live Strong Yellow.
Yeah,
You might
that's
say.
such a good yellow until you call it Live Strong Yellow.
Yeah. The
Fittipaldi.
Pat
Well,
yeah,
Corvette.
Dempsey.
So
Dempsey,
Chevy owned the sponsorship for.
That's a good run.
Jeez.
07, 08. You got Dempsey and Fittipaldi driving. That's all right.
But just look in the first 4 decades, the sponsorships switched up a lot.
Yeah.
And then starting in
Well, look,
2002.
Oldsmobile and Studebaker and Pontiac all went out of business, so they're just
That's a good point.
They're
but
just going
it's
from
been
the
Chevy
available.
since 02.
Yeah, it's been a lot of Chevys.
AJ Foyt convertible.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Lots of Corvettes. Guy Fieri in the C6 ZR1. Yeah, Guy, 2012, getting it. And then you started to have racing drivers. Dario, Jeff Gordon, Roger Penske. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, that's an actor. Isn't that the guy from? Isn't he like 1,000 years old?
I don't know.
I think he might actually be dead. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different guy. I know this guy. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's all right. I'm thinking of the guy who played. He's like really old, and I think he died. Danica. Okay, then you have a bunch of different people in Corvettes. Okay, so. Of that list, give me your top 3, Zach, and we're going to go with car driver combos.
Okay, well, Morgan Freeman Corvette is going to be one of them for sure. I will go Carroll Shelby in the LeBaron just for the joke.
Yeah.
I mean, him in the Viper is awesome.
That's on brand.
That's actually cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But him in a LeBaron just seems unfair, and it's a bear riding a
Doesn't
unicycle.
this piece of shit go any faster? Can't catch these teddies.
I gotta sell my chili, and then I won't take the Fox body from you. That's a really good one too.
Yeah.
I think I'll go 69 Camaro. Who is driving that?
The 69 Camaro. That's the white with the orange, driven by Jim Rathman.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do that.
That's a pretty good one. All right, I'm going to go number one. It's got to be Jackie Stewart in a Fox body.
Right.
Can't fucking beat that combo. Jackie must have hated that car. Everything about that car, Jackie Stewart would hate. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's number one. And then I got to go number two. I want to say Bob Lutz in a Viper. I like that.
How do you not?
Bob Lutz in a Viper is a real fucking firecracker, I think. Keep going down, but I like Bob Lutz in a firecracker. I didn't see that one. Anthony Edwards.
You didn't see that?
From ER
Yeah.
in the Aurora. That's pretty funny. Keep going down. I think maybe who had to drive that? Go back up. Who had to drive that hideous? The first C5. Go down the 2000 C5 Corvette. The Corvette 98 Corvette C5. That's the really ugly Indy Pace car with the yellow wheels.
And Parnelli Jones drove it.
That is possibly the ugliest Indy Pace car of all time.
Yeah, it's purple and yellow, right?
It's
bad.
fucking horrific.
But it will stand out on television.
The yellow seats, dude. It will stand out on TV. That's why they did it, I'm sure. But goddamn, does that look ugly. You know what that reminds me of? That's like when the fucking rappers started wearing ski goggles on their head. It's that era, but for Corvettes.
That is a funny thing. Kids these days will look at that and go, why were they wearing ski goggles outside?
Yeah, if you still, and then people bought these and then parked them and didn't drive them because they thought they'd be valuable.
Yeah.
That's a
And some of them went for like
looking
40
car.
grand, which was just not inflation proof.
And even those wheels in silver, because those are the wheels that came on my C5, that's a terrible looking wheel. That looks like a fucking donut that you'd put on the car after you got a flat. That doesn't look like
yellow,
a ring.
absolutely. Yeah, it looks like you got 14 parking tickets and they just booted your car. God.
All right, so Jackie Stewart in a Fox body is number one for me. Bob Lutz in a Viper is number two, but I need a third.
James Garner in.
This
is like the Oscars.
In an Oldsmobile Delta 88.
And the pace car goes to James Garner in.
No, go back the other way. I need it's
Torino.
Probably the 70s and 80s. It's got to be. Man, I want to say.
Chuck Yeager.
Chuck Yeager in an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Look up 88 Olds Cutlass Supreme Indy Pace car. I bet it's. Oh, it's a good one. I'm sticking by my story because look at the convertible. That one. Yes. You know what? Good looking pace car.
What?
It is. It is. It's the convertible. It's not bad.
It looks like a VHS tape.
It does. It's of the period. Look at those loungers.
It is of the period.
The seats on the insert there.
Is it the Speedster? Does it have little humps
tonneau
behind
going on there?
Look at this lean on
Look
that
at the front splitter,
cornering.
dude. It's got aero.
Ugh. God. Wait, let's see. Is this one better?
The coupe?
No.
The funny, no, that's the actual one they sold. Compare the ride height of that to the one in the obviously photoshopped PR photo.
Inches.
That shit is slam, dude.
Wait, is this?
There's one.
Oh, that's different. Columbus Motor Speedway pace car.
That's the one they actually sold. The one they actually sold to people had a roll bar and shit in it because they couldn't sell that speedster show car. Look at that.
This era of painting the wheels, the body color is bad. This is a red Olds pace car with red wheels. All right.
That looks like a fucking prop car from Back to the Future 2. Looks like it's got the hover conversion done to it.
All right.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, that is a
there
funny image to watch. Was it Chuck Yeager driving
Chuck
that thing?
Yeager in this Oldsmobile convertible fucking He's on the floorboard doing 92 miles an hour.
The man's gone Mach 4.
The fucking Iron Duke is going, na, 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 na. It's a 4-speed slush box.
JPL did not build that.
Horizontal speedometer just pinned right. No tack. Things banging off the rev limiter.
What is the minimum speed of an Indy Pace car these days? I'm curious.
It's got to be like 100, right?
Probably.
They probably pace. I would do speed of a pace lap, not minimum speed. Like what speed do they? Yeah. That's not right.
They hit a camera stand at 60 miles per hour. Okay.
No. What? That's a tough one to find.
Oh, here.
Oh, 110.
110.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, in an old Cutlass convertible, that's a scary number.
I don't think it was 100 back then.
No,
it had to be less.
It probably wasn't. But yeah. 110 probably feels like crawling on Indy.
Of course, they're going double that.
Yeah.
Actually double that.
Yeah, you had to. I mean, in an Indy car, it certainly is. But even in a road car, 110 on a big super speedway like that is like one finger.
True, and the straights there are very long and very wide.
Yeah,
yeah.
On like a NASCAR track, if you ever run a street car at like, a track day at like Daytona or whatever, like. You've 150, 160 is like nothing in a street car on those types of tracks.
I wonder what it's like riding in the F1 pace car because
they're
going hard.
Yeah.
And they keep it like in the same settings all the time because they need to jump in and go. And the F1 cars look bored. They look like they're like at third speed, in playback. But
yeah, and they were driving like an AMG GT Black Series, like mobbing
with harnesses and everything, going for it, just trying to keep everybody cool.
Yeah, that's probably a good time. Bet that's fun. That's a good bit. I forgot who suggested that one, but thank you for your service, Mr. Patron. Did I talk about the Bentley window? I did on the last show, right?
Yeah, you did.
Was it the Pro Driver show?
I think so. You had to replace your fourth regulator.
The fourth window regulator.
But now they've all been replaced.
They've all been replaced.
You got all new teeth.
And this week we're going to be taking in the Delica for its annual service. The Delica has required nothing. I mean, other than Hannah getting hit, and that doesn't count.
Right.
Other than that, this thing has had 2 oil changes, and that's all it's ever fucking needed because it's a Mitsubishi diesel from 1991. So wild. But finally, the air conditioning conked out after 2 years, and it's R12. Mm-hmm. So we have to take it to a place that's got to convert it to R134. So it's not like a fucking environmental hazard.
Right. So you don't put a hole in the ozone above your house.
Yeah. It's probably never been charged in 30 years. It's probably been, and it's sort of dwindled.
It always does.
Yeah. So it's very hot out and it doesn't work.
At first, whenever that happens to me, I start thinking it must just be hotter out than I thought it was. Then I go, is my tint failing? And then I realize that my AC is broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that's funny. It blows really cold when it's cold outside.
Fan speed good, but not actually cooling at all.
That was the Ferrari AC. When it was 55 outside, the fucking AC was ice cold. At 90, it didn't do shit. It like, ripped this garbage out. When I sold the car, it was like there was a box in the trunk with like the AC.
Oh, right, because you had it removed.
I took it out.
Useless.
Yeah, it didn't do shit. It weighed 60 pounds. It didn't do fuck all.
60 pounds?
Well, the compressor, the condenser, and then all this stuff. Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
80s fucking garbage AC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the Patreon if you want to talk to us through the show. The Patreon is the way to do it. Also, get the show before everybody else. Watch the live stream. Get an ad-free listening or watching experience and a whole lot more.
We do the throw to the Cayenne GTS thing.
Right. We going to do that first?
We can do it at the end. Let's do it at the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
at the end of this show, we talked about the Porsche Cayenne GTS. Zach went on the press launch, and we talked about it on the Pro Driver show last week. But we realized that it's not great to do paywalled press car coverage. And so we're going to take that segment, put it at the end of this program so you can listen to it. I'm sorry, patrons. You got an exclusive on that for a while, but we're taking it back.
If you're a pro, you can just end the show after these questions.
Disregard. But let's see what we got. Maverick 91. I just I just read this somewhere else. My parents bought a RAV4 hybrid, and when they went to register the car, there was an additional charge of $50. They were told that this is because hybrids are more fuel efficient and therefore the state would make less from them in sales tax at the pump. The fee is $100 for plug-in hybrids and $200 for EVs. Must be paid every year. Are tax incentives for hybrids and EVs dying off everywhere else too?
Well, I just
not
found
in California.
This.
In California, they just increased the
incentives.
Yeah.
So the number of states that have EV or plug-in road fees. This is 32 states that charge something to make up for the revenue they normally make on gas taxes to help support the roads or whatever they say it's for. So it's actually, more than half the country that does it.
Yeah, there's a bunch. But looking at the numbers, the electric fee, looking at the numbers, it's not a huge amount of money compared to what you would be spending on gas.
True. I think the question would be is how much money, if you drive 12,000 miles a year, how much are you spending on gas? What percentage of that is going to the road fee? I assume they've done that math, and hopefully this is even. Like, hopefully they're not gouging EV owners and charging them double what they'd make in tax revenue.
Right.
But you make a good point. Like, in some states, if you're spending $100 to pay your EV fee, or $50 for your hybrid vehicle fee, but you're getting great gas mileage and saving the money. That's okay.
I mean, your fiance went from a very fuel efficient gas car to a hybrid.
Right.
And she's enjoying it.
Yeah,
right?
loves it.
And is she spending less on gas with the RAV4 hybrid than she was in a Honda Fit?
100%.
Which is a fucking fuel efficient car.
The Fit got 33 miles per gallon highway, but at the speed limit on the right kind of day. And if we try to go 80 miles per hour, hills, etc., then you're using as much of the engine as possible.
Right.
This has averaged 37 miles per gallon since she bought it 4 months ago.
So
road trips, city stuff, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she will probably, and a tank of gas here in California is anywhere from $50 to $100.
Right. It's like $5 a gallon now, basically.
And so this would cover 1 to 2 tanks of gas, and she's definitely getting more than 1 to 2 tanks of gas, more efficiency per year.
Correct.
So it's annoying that the state is doing that, but also the math is still really in your favor, particularly if you're driving an electric car and charging it at home.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're driving an electric car and charging it at home, it costs you like $8 to $10 to fill up your car in power versus $50 to $100 to fill it up with gas.
Right.
So you make this up in a month.
Yeah.
So it sucks, but I think I don't want to say I don't blame the state, but I understand.
Yeah. I mean, the roads they need money to maintain the roads, assuming that's where the money goes. But basically, Maverick, you're not alone. There are 31 other states that do the same thing.
Yeah. Jake White has a question that sounds hard, but is actually very easy, because you can just eliminate by options. He wants a V8, a manual transmission, 4 doors, and less than $20,000. And he says, I'm a big fan of the Gen 1 CTSV and wanted your opinion on them. I mean, the Gen 1 CTSV is very old.
Yeah.
And I would not call that a man's car. He says, I'm dailying an 09 WRX, and it's time to move on from a boy's car to a man's car. In 2024, a first-gen CTSV is not a man's car.
Yeah, unless it was garage kept and diaper wiped all the time, but they look kind of haggard.
You can just eliminate shit. I mean, a V8 manual transmission 4-door car, there's not a lot of those.
No.
You've got a BMW
E90
M3,
right,
or a 5 Series, a 540i, or an E39 M5. You've got Chevy or Pontiac, an SS or a G8.
Right.
There are no Fords that fit that.
And SSs are far more than $20,000.
Yeah.
G8 you could probably get for that, but I don't know if you get it with a manual.
Yeah, maybe not.
The SSs have held value pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so few cars that fit that criteria.
Yeah.
There's no Mercedes.
Maserati, but that's
Audi
that's automatic.
S4s, which are, God help you with servicing those.
Yeah.
But that is a V8. It's
Manual
all-wheel
four-door.
drive, not rear-wheel drive, but it's a four-door, a B6, B7 Audi S4 does fit that requirement.
I mean, you could get a Charger, which I know is not going to have a manual, but it'll have everything else. Because, like you said, like there's not many. Like I don't think you want to get an E90 that costs less than $20,000. I
don't think you want any of these cars that cost less than $20,000. You're buying a fucking rough one at that point.
Yeah.
They're going to be older than your current car and probably less reliable than your current car.
Well, yeah, the Gen 1 CTS-V, when did that come out?
2004.
Yeah. I drove one 3 years ago, and
they're
it
not
felt
great.
It feels like a Camaro, but with like 4 doors. But it looks like the dash and everything just looks really old.
Yeah. I mean, you are...
What if... you know what they could do? You could go G37 sedan. Get rid of 2 cylinders. You have more options. And that's a way nicer car.
I completely agree. A V8 is really... A V8 manual sedan, like you're really pigeonholing yourself here.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that fits that.
If you do inline 6, you have way more options.
Yeah.
All the BMWs in the world.
Yeah.
Or V6. Yeah. Maybe a E46 ZHP, like a 330. This might be a good candidate for that.
Yeah.
The simple engine.
$20,000 will get you a pretty good one of those.
That's what I'm saying. They get the rear drive handling. It's a nice car, and the engine's not as high strung as an S54.
Yeah. I think you gotta pick one of those and ditch it.
Yeah.
You got 3 kids, so it's not going to be the 4-door part.
Right.
You got to choose between a V8 and a manual, because there's tons of V8 sedans, but just a manual, tons of manual V8 coupes. But you want all 3 of those? Yeah, I don't see it happening. You're not going to get something good.
Right. E39
You know what I mean?
M5.
You get a great. You want to spend $100,000 on a fucking great E39 M5?
How much are E39 540i's?
I mean,
now?
a lot less, but they're expensive to maintain. They're not. They don't have that Vanos thing that the M5 has. But you'd want to buy. You're gonna put your kids in this thing. You want to buy a good one.
Yeah.
Limiting things in that one. Let's see. Flannel Bob says, "What's the coolest all-wheel drive car in your opinion?"
The Unicorn.
Oh, yep.
Technically, it's all-wheel drive.
That's true.
It's made by people, so it's
it is all-wheel drive. I mean, that's
yeah.
coolest. See, if we separate coolest from like best, because I would say like the coolest, it's like the Audi S1 Quattro, like Audi Sport Quattro. That's rad because they're fucking super cool. If you saw one of those, you'd be like the short wheelbase. Yes.
Oh, someone sold that replica. This one.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That's extremely cool.
Yeah.
I drove one, not the rally car. I drove Zuckerman's red one. Drives weird as shit. Don't like
The
it.
weight balance is odd.
Very strange. Don't like it, but it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'd still go Unicorn. It's also very cool.
I think you win. Unicorn's better. Ivan says, if automakers would have fake manual transmissions, which EV would be your top pick right now for the swap? So what EV would I want a synthetic manual? Rimac Nevera.
Really?
Yeah, it would make it more exciting. For my $3 million, I want some excitement in that car.
It'd be extremely exciting. Would it be too... I guess it depends on how they simulate the manual. Would it be too fast? Like, we've talked about this before.
Definitely.
We've driven cars that have 600 horsepower, and we go, boy, I'm glad it has paddles.
Right.
And you're like, let's multiply that by 3.
But what I want is for that car to be more exciting in
normal mode.
Regular situations.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I want.
I don't think there's... Like, someone said Taycan, which is one of the funnest EVs to drive.
Yeah, that could be cool.
I still don't think it calls... I don't want it to have a manual. That doesn't do anything for me.
Porsche would never do that. Porsche doesn't understand what whimsy is.
Oh, no. I want to ignore what OEMs would do.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, like, it's like, what car do we think would be fun with a manual? And I can't think of an EV right now that has the light, flickable nature that would benefit from having a manual transmission.
Right.
It would be something from EV West, which isn't really fair.
Right. Yeah, I don't really want a fake manual in the EV. The fake paddles and with the Ioniq, that delivers the thing that I need from that car, which is the ability to understand my speed and control my speed. in a more effective way. Because the Ioniq on track at Laguna was much, much more intuitive than the Lucid on track at Sonoma.
Yeah. Yeah. Having to look at the Speedo a lot and try to remember what
Especially
I
when
went
it's that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, to sidestep on Ivan's question, what Koenigsegg is doing with their gearbox, which is a gasoline powered, it's a hybrid, but where it's got a DCT and you can do auto or shifting with a proper clutch pedal. I mean, that's very, very cool.
That's the coolest.
Yeah, that's really cool. Nathan says, are BMW manual shifters not up to par with the likes of Honda, Porsche, and Toyota? It seems like no matter which generation BMW car reviewer watches, unanimous complaint about the shifter. What gives? Well, I don't know about Toyota, but certainly in terms of best feeling shifters, Porsche and Honda, I think, are the best, right?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's correct. Right now,
Porsche and Honda
feels
maybe
fantastic.
followed by, believe it or not, Cadillac. What Cadillac does with the Tremix is great.
Which also, like the Mach 1 has the Tremec.
Right.
I'd say, and I'd say those feel really similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the Honda feels, I hate to use this term over and over again, but like rifle bolt. It feels like really precise pieces of metal that are sliding along each other. Whereas the Tremec feels like a heavier piece of metal. It feels like you're activating a bridge or something like that. And then the BMW just feels like there is some rubber bushing between those pieces of metal that just mutes the sensation a little bit.
Yeah, but whenever I've driven a BMW that has like a short shift kit that's supposed to fix that, it somehow makes it worse.
Did you drive Thad's car?
No. Is that one better?
Yeah, but it's got the
tall
high-rising,
shifter.
crazy whole new mechanism. Like that feels very locked in.
But that's not even close to factory.
No, it's a racing shifter system.
The 0406 Ford GT possibly is up there with the S2000 and
NSX.
I mean, Ferrari gated chips. Well, Jamal told me, we were talking about my NSX, in 05 when Ford they bought a 360, they bought a Gallardo, they bought a couple other cars, an M3, and they bought an NSX to benchmark dynamics for the Ford GT.
Wow.
And he said that he realized when they were driving the NSX that you could have a very high performance car that had very low effort controls. And that was how they figured that they wanted the shifter in the Ford GT to be very light, and they made it perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. So
if they mirrored or chased the NSX, I've never driven a Ford GT, but then that speaks highly.
So fucking good. Yeah. Doug would probably let you have a go
if he ever drives up here.
Yeah. Okay. Sean Finney says, what luxury watch brands are more substance than brand? In other words, are there any luxury watch brands where the markup is less and you're really paying for quality versus brand prestige? Well, right, in today's market, unless you're talking about an AP or a Patek or a Rolex, there's no markup. You're buying everything for sticker or possibly under sticker. But there's substance. So people that are making great watches, and the Notice Canyon, where we're selling them for less money than we could, because I want people to have a really great watch. I mean, there's lots of brands that are. There's lots of brands selling great watches for reasonable money. Nomos, Sin, the higher end Seikos, certainly Grand Seiko. Grand Seiko is the best example because you're paying for the quality of a Patek, but it's about a quarter of the price of what you would pay for a Patek. There's a lot of other brands that are selling $1,500 watches for $3,500 or $4,000. There's a lot of mid-tier Swiss stuff that makes okay watches, but are probably not worth the money they're asking for them. But I would say Tudor and Tudor has a good brand also, but like Grand Seiko is selling $50,000 watches for $10,000, which is it's best in the industry in terms of quality and finish versus price. It's still expensive, but Sean says, are you missing the Ferrari 328 or happy with the decision to move on? I think happy with the decision to move on. Haley says, can we get the 328 versus the NSX breakdown? They have similar ethos and seem to be about the same price. When you drive the NSX after the 328, you realize that they reverse engineered a 328 and said, make everything about this better. And they did. They were successful at that. And then when you drive a 718 Boxster Spider, you go, oh, they took an NSX and said, make everything about this better. So to have the 3 in a row is really interesting because you can see the improvement in all of that stuff. The controls on the 328 are very heavy. The shifter's heavy. The steering is heavy. Everything is heavy, which for a car that's very light is a little weird, whereas the controls in the NSX are all so light. Everything is just fingertips in the NSX.
Was the 328 fuel injection? Mm-hmm. Was is NSX drive-by-wire, throttle-by-wire?
No.
Okay. I was wondering if, because some cars, like, something that dates cars for me based on feel is like the throttle spring.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where it feels, you know, that heavy effort you get from a car from the 60s or 70s.
Right.
So that's why I was curious.
No, it's like a manual clutch versus a hydraulically assisted clutch, though. The clutch in the Ferrari is really heavy. It's all pretty heavy for a car that's super light. It's because nothing is power assisted. There's no power steering. The Ferrari is a really nice car because it feels like driving an old Ferrari, but it's modern enough where it works pretty well most of the time. You can actually just use it as a car. But the NSX, it feels much more like a modern car because everything is just super light in the way that people like it today. Yeah. I think it's like which experience, like the NSX is definitely more like usable. It's just everything about it is easier. The air conditioning works great. It's like really comfortable for long drives. The trunk is better. Just everything about it is like a little better. But I'm glad I had the experience with the Ferrari. Chris N said McLaren 600 LT and 675 LT are close in price on the used market. Which of these would you take, and do you think the 765 LT will also lose a lot of money? Yes and yes. I would take a 675 over a 600. I think they're a little crazier. But there's a guy on Instagram whose name I can't remember right now, but he basically does market analysis. Fucking 765s, way down.
Harry Metcalf just traded in his Lotus Emira and got a 650.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. He just unveiled it like
650 or 750?
650.
The old one?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know how much they cost, but I was wondering
They're
if it was
probably
even
really,
money.
They got to be really cheap.
Because I mean, the Emira was 100.
Yeah, they've got to be like 150 or so. 100. They've got to be cheap. That's an interesting choice for Harry, though. I wouldn't have thought that. But
I haven't watched his explanation video. I just saw it. And,
okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. But the 765s, like a year ago, were like 500 and something on the flip. There's like 3 for sale right now online for like 385. Yeah, huge drop. I mean, again, tons of money.
Right.
But huge
down
drop.
40%.
Huge drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, not on the flip anymore. Yeah, they have saturated the market and yeah.
I mean, are those just those inflated prices are journalists drive it, get excited, hype cycle. Like if you want it early and you want it now,
yeah.
All right, there's a price and it's 100 over or whatever. Yeah.
And now everyone who wants one has got one. And some people have got them and don't want them anymore.
Right.
But, they're like one-owner clean cars, 8,000 miles. And, the sticker on those is high 4s. They got up to middle 5s, and now they're down to high 3s. And, I mean, all McLarens depreciate.
Yeah.
Other than maybe even a P1. But, like, other than that, like, all McLarens depreciate. So, Tim A says, previous gen AMG GT are heavily depreciated. It seems that a used GTC or GTS can be had for 70 to 80K. Seems like a great value compared to the 911s available in this range. I would agree, Tim.
Wow.
I would say a used GTC is what the fuck is up. Can you look on Auto Tempest and see what an AMG GTC goes for, Zach? Let's take a look at that. AMG. I wonder how if they divide it by. Do they divide it by just GT, or do they have GTS, GT? God, there's so many Mercedes. You have to scroll for like. Oh. Wait, AMG GTC. There it is. What do we got? The C is really the fucking sweet spot. No, wait.
That's the wrong one.
Those are sedans.
Yeah. Where's
we got to go type? Year. Go for year on the year thing. Oh, coupe. There we go. That's the one. That'll do it. AMG GTC. There. 2018 AMG GTC, 36,000 miles, $73,000, dude.
Damn.
That, and it's in a great color.
In that blue. Good blue.
Fuck.
Another one in white for 79.
With 19,000 miles?
Black for 86. Silver, 80. Okay, so there's plenty under.
There's
wait. Lemon.
Oh,
salvage.
Lemon. Okay.
The blue one.
The blue one seems pretty good.
Seems clean.
126K, yeah.
Original.
Okay, so yeah, you could if you want to buy like a real shitty one. Oh, dude, look at that one. The fucking 112K gets you that one with all that stuff on it. I would say there are deals to be had on some AMG GTCs. Why are some of these are these just listed wrong? Is that a GTR?
Maybe because that's 150 grand. And
some of these are listed weird.
Yeah,
these may be listed incorrectly. It may if you're actually going to get a GTC for 80,000. That's not a C, is it? That looks like an S. No, it has the grill. Huh.
And then this looks like it says the.
That
wing.
looks like a GTR.
Yeah. Where's the back?
What the fuck? These are weird. Someone's listed this all fucking wrong.
That's an R.
That's an
but
R.
It's listed as a C.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. So make sure you know what you're shopping for. But if you can get a C in the 80s, I think that's a hell of a
Those cars handle so great.
Yeah,
they perform so well. I mean, and they feel. I always thought they felt more expensive as an experience than they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Damn. I'm with you. I am with you.
That'll get you a salvage title Cayman in Porsche land.
Paul says, what are your thoughts on OEMs sharing driver data with law enforcement without warrants? Color me fucking shocked, Paul. You are the product. People wanted connected cars. What did they think they were fucking getting?
Well, I think people wouldn't expect their data to be just given to police.
Of course they do. Your data is, you know how much money they make on your data? They being everybody?
I guess that is the question is, if we assume our data is being sold to advertisers and all these other things, now can police departments buy the same data? Probably, because they just buy it from a data broker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here's the, okay. So
is there an article about that?
Affirm.
Yep. So I read this article. I remember this. This was from a couple months ago, a month or so ago. This seemed, okay, so this article, I read this. This seemed like a misunderstanding of the manufacturer representative indicated, the way they answered the question indicated they didn't know the difference between a court order and a court request. So like it basically said that they would comply with the court, but they didn't seem to either know or consider the difference between a request and an order. But it did seem more like a little benefit of the doubt. It seemed like it was possibly ignorance and not malice.
Got it.
It doesn't mean that they won't give your fucking data. They might.
But they'll do it with a request.
Like this is what this particular article said, that when the representative said, the question was, if a court requests this data, will you give it to them? And they said yes. But they may have thought that it was a court order and not just a request. So I don't know.
Okay.
But there is a difference.
Another thing that was like this article was written a month after the one I just showed you.
Car makers lying about most automakers. Yeah. Okay. 5 will require a warrant. No. Sorry, I'm reading this for the first time. Okay. Automakers have pledged through their industry association to protect owners' location data and insist on warrants. However, Toyota, Nissan, Subaru, Volkswagen, BMW, Mazda, Mercedes, and Kia all acknowledge they only require subpoenas. So that's the difference. They said with a subpoena, they do not require a judge to sign off before sharing location data with government agencies. So there's a difference between subpoena and court order.
Right.
So the question is, did the representative know the difference when they were being asked this question? And did the person asking it make it clear that there is a difference? I don't know if you can expect a car maker's PR person to understand that legal nuance necessarily.
I don't think you would until a discussion happens, or they check with legal.
Yeah.
Tres mas.
Alex says, do we plan to get a CT5 Blackwing before they end production? No. It's a fantastic car, but I don't know what I would do with a $125,000 manual transmission
Tire eater.
daily driver.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Ben, thank you for your note. Not a question. Jason Roner, can you name any solid resources for learning about watches for someone who wants to level up from their... there's like lots of websites like A Blog to Watch, Time and Tide, Hodinkee. There's Watch Crunch. There's a lot of Instagram channels like my buddy at Menta Watches or Craft and Tailored. You can go back and listen to the Watch and Listen podcast, which me and Cameron Weiss did for 2 years. It's available on YouTube. Those would be good places to start. That's our Patreon episode. If you are a pro driver and listen to this next little bit on the Pro Driver Show, you can turn off the podcast and go back about your business now because we're going to drop in a segment where Zach gives us a review of the Cayenne GTS. He drove in Georgia last week. The all-new GTS has got the handling package from the Turbo GT, but a little less power. It was from our Pro Driver Show, which our Pro Driver patrons get an extra podcast every month. But then we realized that we probably should let everybody hear this one because Zach went all the way to Atlanta to drive the car. So that's going to be dropped in right after this. And a big shout out to our buddy Sam Smith, who has written for basically everybody, but writes for the Intercooler now. His first book, Smithology, is now on sale. Smithology, Thoughts, Travels, and Semi-Plausible Car Writings. He sent us a copy, and Sam is possibly the best car writer working today. Certainly
Agreed.
top 3 or 4.
Definitely one of the most
globally,
original, for sure.
Yeah, he's out of his fucking mind, and
great.
And he can drive really fast also, which doesn't hurt. And so, if you want something to read, it is a lot of pages, but I really am looking forward to taking it on my trip to Spain this week because I'm going to drive 911 Hybrid in España, and I need mucho reading material. So grab it at your local bookstore at bookshop.org or wherever you buy books.
Get it on goodreads.com.
Yep.
Also, anything else? It's a collection of articles. It's not just car reviews. It's like he's a very deep thinker. No, he doesn't. He does deeper thinking about driving and experiences and how cars bring you to people and special moments in time and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
So stick around for Zach's review of the new Cayenne GTS, and for the rest of y'all, I'll see you when we get back from Spain, which will actually be because we've already recorded the show with Jamal after the 4th of July break, because on the 4th of July, we will have a show with Jamal Hamidi, head of special projects, Land Rover Jaguar, on Tuesday, July 2nd. We'll then be off for July 4th, and we'll see you the following week. All right, bye. Do you want to tell me how the Cayenne GTS was?
Yeah, sure. It's
exactly
really
what
impressive.
I think.
Yeah, but it's annoying how good they are at making something that lands between two things, but they feel distinct. So the Cayenne GTS gets a bunch of good shit from the Turbo GT. It gets the suspension, the rear steer, the steering system, It gets new programming on the active ride control and on the suspension. And actually, they said that
Does it have active ride?
it's optional. It has air suspension. Sorry, but it's I meant active roll bars.
Oh, okay.
Which is an option. And they said that the shocks now, they've been continued developing the programming for it versus the Turbo GT, which came out 2 years ago. So they think it's actually more refined. Granted, you know, that's what they told me, but I will say that they have demonstrated with the ST that they can do a lot with programming. So I kind of believe them. The experience of driving it in the twisty Georgia mountains, like, that thing is so impressive. For something that weighs 5,000 pounds, what the fuck? Like,
How much less power does it have than a Turbo GT?
It has 493 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque.
Okay.
And I think the Turbo GT is 600 plus. I don't remember. Cayenne.
It's like 100 down.
Yeah. Which, you know, it's quick off the line. It's like 4.1 to 60, but it's nearly a full second behind the Turbo GT. And once you're above 50 miles per hour, like, it's not that fast. And we weren't at altitude. It was, I guess it was a warm day, but it just, like, it steams along, but it doesn't throw you back into the seat. But honestly, the way you can carry speed and the agility of the thing is so impressive. It is really, really shocking.
Is there...
Turbo GT has 650 horsepower.
Yeah, that's a big
so that's a
difference.
big jump.
Yeah.
Because that thing feels like, holy shit, this is a supercar that's just
really
lifted
fast.
and, like...
It's the Urus engine.
Yeah, and it feels like that.
And what is the price difference?
GTS started at 127 for
it's
the
a lot
regular.
cheaper.
Yeah.
The Turbo GT is 200 grand.
Right, and so is the Turbo E Hybrid, which is
Yeah.
way more powerful.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's 670 horsepower, but also has the electric stuff. And
yeah.
whatever.
But I think both of those, the Turbo GT and the Turbo E Hybrid, their 0 to 60 times are way ahead of the Cayenne, the GTS. The
They're like
GTS
low
is the
threes.
momentum vehicle, like, even, which is weird to say for something with 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's the same as the 911 thing. It's the handling package from the pinnacle of the Cayenne or whatever, but it just has a lesser motor.
I wonder who that's for.
I think
Because the S has a V8 again now.
yes, it does.
Right?
Yeah, and this only has 40 more horsepower
Yeah.
and 30 more pound-feet of torque than the S.
I drove the S over Thanksgiving when I went to Pigeon Forge, and I didn't like hit the canyons with it, but it was fine, and it was powerful, but not mind blowing. Having the V8 definitely made it feel more like a luxury car than having a six-cylinder for sure. But I wonder who the customer is that wants the mid-level power pack, but really needs this handling.
Well, so they had some demographic data, which was pretty fascinating to me. Compared to the S, the buyer is 2 years younger. Average person's 50 years old. More men, of course. What do you think the take rate is on buying the coupe versus the regular, rear tailgate?
I bet more GTSs are coupes.
Right, but like, how many more do you think?
Double.
It was 42%. 42% of GTS orders are coupe versus like 10% of Cayenne, which was incredible.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I honestly think this is a car for people like you and I. If we were going to buy a Cayenne, but we had this life where we go to the canyons and stuff, I mean, the thing cooks. Like, it really cooks in the corners. And the one I had carbon ceramics, which the tip-in wasn't perfect, but, they dissipate heat and all that stuff. Like, that's kind of who this is for. It's like the Ioniq 5N. You go, who is that for? It's for a very specific subset. It's for people who either think they're a race car driver and want to show off but don't have turbo money, or people who actually enjoy driving quickly, because it does that really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't think it's for me, but which is weird because I'm right in the demo they've described, I guess. But mid-40s man.
I think it depends on if you don't have a bunch of sports cars to choose from. If you need, this lands in that weird thing where you go, I have to get a family car, but I still want to have a good time, and this is more fun than the S for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
But it is for a very specific person.
And with this suspension, does it ride well on bad roads?
Unfortunately, the roads in Georgia are pretty damn smooth. There was literally one section of road we hit that was bad.
Did you drive up to Helen? Is that where you went? Yeah,
we did that whole route. So
that part where it's 2 lanes and is banking back and forth is kick-ass.
that was really good, but it was really busy. We saw 4
really?
police officers in an hour, and one of our colleagues got a warning.
Oh, really?
Got a written warning, which is surprising.
Offtherecord.com/TST.
I had that memorized because I saw so many police officers, and the speed limits there seemed low.
It must have been because this weekend, between Father's Day and the fact that a lot of offices were closed for Juneteenth, around here, nobody. Everybody's gone. There was no traffic, and they must be because they were going to places like North Georgia for vacation.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there were a good amount of cars out there.
Yeah.
I saw an LS400 with like exhaust on it. It sounded really good.
One UZ with exhaust sounds awesome.
I think a lot of people will buy this car because they want to stunt and they don't have turbo money. Like people who just go, I want the best version I can afford. What is that?
Yeah.
And it looks different, and you can get all these different, like you can get center exhaust and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, the GTS does the center exhaust thing. Yeah.
I think if you drive cars, you will appreciate the differences. But it did. The only rough stretch of pavement we went over was literally like 30 feet long on the highway. And when we hit it, I went, oh, there's the sport suspension.
Yeah.
Like even in soft mode, it was like, brrr.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot stiffer. It's got the same steering knuckles as the Turbo GT. Like it's lower. So you feel that stuff. But if the roads are bad where you live, you probably should get the S and get the smallest wheels you can.
Was the fuel economy horrible?
I'm sure I didn't look.
Did you drive a whole tank of gas in that drive?
No.
You didn't?
We did not. But again, we were going quick in the afternoon. But I'd say my drive partner was a little bit more conservative than I was, and we saw so many police officers that like I got real gun shy. I went, this is going to be a slow in-car. And during my in-car, we got a lucky stretch where the road was tighter, and we saw 0 other cars or police officers, and that was very fortunate because the morning was busy.
When I had the S, I was pretty surprised at how bad the fuel economy was. It was bad.
Let me see what the...
I think I might have gotten 18 for the whole week, which was pretty bad.
I mean, okay, so the GTS, is that...
Did it have start stop? I mean, it did. I know it had it, but did you leave it on?
Yeah, I did. I didn't touch that.
Okay. Do you remember? Because by far to me the most infuriating thing about the S is that when you would come to a stop, it would cut the engine before you came to the stop.
Ooh.
It would cut the engine at about 5 miles an hour as you were coming to a stop.
I don't think it did
which
that.
you would then lose power steering. And
I don't recall that
So if you
happening.
had to like do something with the wheel before then you'd have to let off the brake to kick the engine back on.
Well, I think the route we did, which you've done before, there are so few stops.
Yeah.
There's like 3 stop signs, all of which are in a straight line. Like I was never rolling up to a stop and going, I'm going to turn here.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing we need the car for a week to do. Because when I was driving it around in traffic in Pigeon Forge on Thanksgiving, this happened all the time, and it drove me crazy. I mean, you can fix it by turning off start stop, but
it did do one really weird thing. Like the car delivered what I expected, and it was really impressive handling wise. But let's say. So I was driving quick. There was a left-hand bend, which would be like a second gear corner, not 35 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. And it was a crest left. And on the right side of the road was a turnout with a parked car. And as we're coming up the crest, I am basically aimed at that car. And as I start to turn the wheel, the car sensed this other car that was parked. It hit the brake, and it turned me automatically towards the left.
Oh, wow.
This was a 2-lane road, 1 lane in each direction.
So did it turn you into the oncoming lane?
It did, and there was an oncoming car.
No way.
Yes way. And it did it, it didn't force me over there. I felt it in the wheel, and I pulled it back. And then one of the PR people was driving behind me in an S, and it did the same thing to that car. And when we got to a turn, and I was doing in-car, and I commented on it, I was like, that was really strange. And we get to this turnout, and we get out, and he's got the face of like, that wasn't great. And I was like, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
Did it happen to you too? He's like, that happened to me as well. And that is it was a very unique situation.
Sure.
And I understand why the car did it.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how you could, I mean, someone will have to program around that.
Well, this is a thing about letting computers take control, right? So like ADAS, which, you know, this is an ADAS thing. It's not self-driving. It's not robo-taxi. It's driver's assistance.
Yeah.
Even then, there's so many of these what they call edge cases that, sure, if you add up all the upsides and the downsides, there's probably more upsides to ADAS than downsides, right? But like that system could have actually caused an accident there.
Yeah.
Is that a reason to dismiss all ADAS? No. But is it a reason to stop and think, like, hang on a minute, how do we determine, like, which is, you know, when to activate these versus not? Like, so do we have to go into the GPS system and say, on these certain types of roads, do we deactivate this certain part of the system because here's what could happen?
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I thought the car I was in was a Euro spec car, so the GPS, the native GPS wasn't doing anything. And so I thought, oh, maybe it didn't know I was on this twisty road. It thought I was just going to keep going straight. But the S that the person was in was a US car, so it had the GPS data. And I think, like you said, it's an edge case where the car goes, you're going X fast in Y direction, and right in front of you is a vehicle. Like, it thinks I'm going to continue going straight, which I guess for half a second the wheel was straight because that's where the road was going. And I was hoping the GPS would talk to it and go, well, the road curves in a moment. So automatic braking computer, don't freak out. The driver's probably going to turn. But it doesn't know that. It just sees closing speed and object. Yeah. But it was weird. And if I hadn't, pulled the wheel back.
Imagine you were in a car where you were not in control. Imagine you were in an AV, if you're an autonomous vehicle, where that same thing happened, but now you're not getting to yank the wheel back.
Well, do those cars have automatic steering that's so strong you can't pull it back? Or are you just saying in theory?
I'm saying in the future.
Oh, right.
Imagine you're in an AV where that happens.
Right, yeah. It would have been a head-on collision, between two cars going 25, 30 miles per hour, for sure. And I think it's, honestly, if anyone ever goes on back roads with your Model 3 or your whatever, and you just take your hands off the wheel, like, you are a fucking idiot, because the delay you would have between recognizing what's happening, grabbing that steering wheel, if the car in the oncoming lane didn't avoid me, it would be mirrors hitting at best.
What car did I just drive? Where I just drove something very recently, and I can't remember what it is now. Let me look at my notes and see if I can remember. It was actually the Lexus GX, where when you put it into off-road mode, it doesn't disable things like the parking sensors.
Right.
And which is like, turn this shit off. Like a shrub was like setting off, and I had to go through and turn everything off. And there was something else I drove recently where I put it into like track mode, and I was actually, I forget, where was I recently where I was on a track? Was it Taycan Turbo GT? It might have been Taycan Turbo GT. Or you go into track mode and it didn't automatically disable things like automatic emergency braking. And I was trying to do car to car with another Taycan. And so I'm like riding his ass, and it's like, it's slamming on the of course it's Porsche. It's slamming on the brakes because it thinks I'm going to crash in this car. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to be here. Yeah. I've put the car into track, Yeah. Yeah. I think when you go into those specialized modes, it needs to dial back the ADAS because I'm focused. If I'm in track mode, I'm focusing on driving.
It should, but that also might be an EU regulation. Like, we should ask Porsche, because you may not be allowed to have those systems automatically disabled, even because if you change the drive mode on a highway to track mode for whatever reason, and then it disabled that, and then you got in an accident, it might be a regulation.
It might be, yeah.
So I think we as users will just have to get more practiced in always checking all of these lane departure, brake warning, all these other things, because there's a lot of shit in those screens. Like, there was a lane keep assist and there was a lane departure warning, and those are two different things in two different menus. Yeah, and you have to find that stuff.
In the Mercedes I'm driving right now, I've had to disable many things.
Yeah.